Yeah, if when there will be any other questions, we can cover those in our Q&A session. And I'm happy then to turn the digital stage to Ilse. Are you here?
Yes, hello to everybody. I'm here.
Hello.
Then I think I just share the screen with my presentation, right?
Right. The screen is yours.
Thank you. So, okay, so good morning, everybody, once again, and my pleasure to be here and to share some of Latvenergo's experience in non-financial reporting. I work at the business planning and control department, and my main task is to take care of non-financial reports in our company, in our group. So before I start with the experience in non-financial reporting, just shortly about Latvenergo Group. So we do work in the Baltics. We're one of the largest providers of energy supply services, and the three key things that we do. So it's electricity and heat generation, which happens in Latvia mostly, and then it is trade of electricity, natural gas, and related products and services, which we do in all three Baltic countries. And then another thing that we do is electricity distribution, which is again Latvia only. And the entire Latvenergo Group comprises the parent company, Latvenergo AS, and then we do have 6 subsidiaries. Latvenergo is a state capital company, so it's fully state-owned, and our shares are held by the Ministry of Economics. Moving forward to the most interesting part today, I guess, sustainability report and reporting. So here I have summarized the very key things about our sustainability report and this reporting process. So objective, content, compliance, and assurance. So the reason why we do it, Latvenergo has issued a yearly sustainability report for about 20 years. It has changed a lot in form and in content, but the key objectives were always to inform our stakeholders about group's operations, activities, and performance. Also to promote transparency of the group's activities, and in this way to build stakeholder trust, customer loyalty, and also to proactively create this reputation of a responsible business. So that's been always on the back of our minds when it comes to sustainability reporting. When it comes to content, so currently our sustainability report includes information about those sustainability topics and those indicators or KPIs that are important to the group's operations and our sustainability. We do prepare our report in accordance with GRI guidelines. I think many of you have heard about these before, Global Reporting Initiative guidelines, and the information included in the report is the one that's required by the so-called non-financial reporting directive and related national regulations. So it's on one hand, it's a voluntary exercise, and the amount of information and data that we give in our sustainability report is way above the minimum requirements. But on the other hand, it's also like a matter of compliance. So as a large state capital company and also a bond issuer, we are required to provide at least some non-financial information. It's been also like I think around 10 years or so, that we do get this limited assurance report on our sustainability report. And it is the assurance or the auditing is carried out by an independent external auditor. This will also be required in the future by the upcoming European sustainability reporting standards. At first, this limited assurance report, then most probably like a proper full report. But our experience and our also some feedback from the stakeholders is that this, even if it's a limited assurance report, it sort of gives like extra credibility to the data and the information provided. So that's a good thing to have. About the reporting process. So here, the reporting process itself, the preparation and then the auditing of the sustainability report, like this entire process is placed under CFO or Chief Financial Officer. And here I'd like to note that it's it's important where you place this reporting process, because right now there are like different places where different organizations and different companies place their reporting process when it comes to non-financial information, but that also in a way gives impression or shows how do you treat your ESG data or sustainability data. So if we have a position, or if this process is placed, let's say at the public relations department or marketing department, then of course stakeholders and investors will most probably see it as first of all as a PR exercise, and maybe less as a qualitative data and proper reporting. So our choice has been for many years that this process is under the CFO, and that it's business planning and control that takes care of compiling the data and assuring the quality. So GRI guidelines, as I mentioned before, so we've been reporting according to these since 2009. And the reason why we chose some guidelines at all, and the reason why we chose GRI guidelines is that those are international guidelines that are widely recognized and widely used, and there are many reports that are prepared according to these guidelines. And even if the requirements still leave some room for interpretation, some room for developing our own methodologies. So it's not as strict as, let's say, financial standards, but still it gives a good backbone and a good reason to compare the data or the indicators between the reports between the companies. Another thing was that GRI guidelines were widely used also like in the energy sector by our competitors. So that was another reason why we went with these guidelines to prepare our report. So the next point, yes, that I mentioned previously, that we significantly exceed the minimum disclosure requirements set by the law. Because in this non-financial directive and also like in the national related laws, currently what is being required are very like general things. Let's say provide a brief description of a business model, but it doesn't specify like what sort of details should be there. And then again, like GRI guidelines, they do require a bit more specificity, and the upcoming European reporting standards, I think, will be even more specific in what needs to be addressed to say that, okay, we have covered a description of our business model. Contents of our sustainability report are largely based on the materiality matrix. And this is what materiality matrix is, the result of materiality assessment that Julia mentioned in her presentation. We have decided to, when it comes to quantitative data, we have decided to disclose data for a 5-year period where we can and where it's appropriate, in order to show like some development trends and also be able to compare, so that the user of a report, reader of the report, can compare the performance and the results, like how they change from year to year. So materiality assessment and materiality matrix, which is the very basis of our sustainability report. We have created, first of all, we have created a list of topics, sustainability topics listed on the right side of the slide, that could be important to energy companies, that could be important to our stakeholders, that are important to us. And then we organize the so-called stakeholder engagement seminar, where our top management get together on site with our key stakeholders, like customers, investors, banks, educational institutions, etc. And apart from discussing, like in a form of discussion, what's important and what is not, we also do this questionnaire, or voting on a questionnaire. So in order to create this matrix on the left side of the slide, we have done voting, and thus placed the different sustainability topics from the most important to less important. And in our report, we disclose information on the 2 most important groups, the material and medium material aspects, and then the 3rd group, less material. We show them here in the matrix, but we do not disclose information about these topics, or we disclose little information where it's maybe relevant. Before getting to the contents of our sustainability report, just a visual representation what GRI standards consist of. So there are 3 types of standards: universal standards, which describe how the report should be prepared and what principles should be used. And this first group also includes like requirements for the disclosure of general information, like organizational details, business model, etc. Then the second group is sector standards, which are currently mostly under development. There's only one standard that's been published for oil and gas sector. But here we, as an energy company, electric utility, we use sectoral standard from the previous GRI guideline version, where there are some extra requirements, what sort of information should be disclosed by energy companies, by electric utilities. So some indicators that are specific to electric utilities only. And then the most interesting part probably are those topic standards, where there are several indicators that can be used for showing how we do perform in terms of, let's say, emissions to air. If emissions to air or climate change is an important topic for us, as a company, then we can take the standard on air emissions and climate change and pick those indicators that we find useful as indicators for this topic. So here is basically the very contents for sustainability report, and in the top 3 chapters we cover this general information about business activities, business model, corporate governance, and etc. And then chapter number 4, sustainability indicators, is the one that is based on this materiality assessment on this materiality matrix shown before, and there we disclose all those indicators related to economic topics, to social topics, and to environmental ones. Yes, that was basically a short introduction to our sustainability report and to our reporting process. Are there any questions from your side?
Yeah, let's check the Q&A panel. We have one question, but I believe for the Julia's part related to the banking, we'll cover that question in our Q&A session. Ilse, thank you so much. I think one part was how was the process with the stakeholders? That was, I think, quite interesting. When you had so many stakeholders from education and probably shareholders, was it difficult to agree on the important KPIs?
Well, agreeing on the important KPIs, or let's say on important sustainability topics, like the KPIs, the numbers, they indicate quantitative data that is like decided on at a later stage. But agreeing on what's important, I'd say it was, the very part is where you put in a lot of effort. So finding out which topics could be relevant to your sector, to your company, and to your stakeholders and to our company. And then once that is properly done, then the voting on the sustainability topics is in a way a technical exercise. So the biggest part is to find a preliminary list of those topics that could be important.
Yes,
and we did it in a way that we, first of all, let's say went through the GRI standards, what sort of sustainability topics they do cover. So which one of those could be relevant for us? Then, of course, we took a look at other energy companies, which topics are relevant for them, which topics do they cover. Of course, we also looked internally, what is important for our strategy, for our operations. And that's how the list was like sort of filled up and created for the voting.
All right, thank you so much. There is another question from Ekaterina, and the question is, what is your approach of setting sustainability targets? Do you use science-based targets or any other? And probably this is the next question, how many people are involved in preparing sustainability report?
I'll maybe start with the second part because that's a bit easier to answer. So how many people are involved in preparing of the sustainability report? Many people. So I'm one person who has like a dedicated position to only that sustainability report and all sorts of other non-financial reports that we do have throughout the year. But my task is mostly to compile data and to compile the final numbers from all the other departments that do the actually ESG stuff. So there are people from the environmental department, there are people from HR, there are people from procurement department. And here, unfortunately, I cannot give you any like good estimate or number of people that are involved, or like how many hours they spend per year, because it's just one part of their like overall duties and work day. But we do have this one person who is like taking care of this reporting process, like the very end of it. But the actual implementation and follow up of the KPIs and implementation of the targets, it's placed with respective departments.
Right. And regarding these targets?
Yes, we do not currently use science-based targets for climate change, but we are considering that. So that's something in the process. Currently, we do not have like a separate sustainability strategy. and those sustainability issues, risks, opportunities are to some point considered under the development of overall group strategy. So that's part of that process. And then we do have some sustainability related targets as part of our group strategy. But the task for this year is actually, we have recently established a sustainability committee that consists of those departments that are that are highly involved in the ESG matters. And so one of the tasks for this committee for this year 2023 is to consider sustainability as a separate issue and to go through all the ESG aspects and to find out whether we need to add something and how we should improve our overall group strategy in order to cover sustainability targets like properly, like fully, because now they are partly covered by the group strategy, but there's certainly some room for improvement. And science-based targets is one of the things that we are considering when it comes to like climate change topic.
All right, thanks. And there is another question. Will Latvenergo ESG report structure change this year from GRI further or until EU standards are approved? Will there be any impact on the structure?
Yes, the impact will be, the upcoming ESRS standards will be mandatory for us, so there is no choice whether to use them or not. So this year, we will still use GRI standards because the ESRS are not yet approved. So the structure will not change significantly. There are some new things that we need to include in the report, but the structure overall will stay the same. But once the ESRS standards are approved, then of course we will move to those standards, and the structure will definitely see some major changes. And we fall in the group which has to prepare their 2024 report according to the new European standards. So we have 1-2 more years with GRI, and then we will switch to the European standards.
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you for taking the questions, and audience also thank you for asking.